Like, comment, subscribe if you think you could survive one night inside a prison built to erase people from the world. Because after this story, you'll understand why some inmates never came back, why some names faded like dust, and why others were never meant to leave alive. The morning was unnaturally silent when the call came in. 2 guards at Black Ridge Supermax, a facility buried deep in the Rocky Mountains, were missing. Their radios lay abandoned near cell block E, where America's most dangerous offender was kept, Marcus Hale. Convicted of orchestrating one of the deadliest bank heists in U.S. history, Hale was a ghost of a man brilliant, calculating, patient. He'd been locked inside a steel and concrete box for 9 years without sunlight. No visitors. No contact. No chance of escape, they said. But this morning, his cell was wide open. Detective Lena Ward was among the first to enter the prison. A former military investigator with a reputation for breaking cases others couldn't, she walked through the entrance with a grim calm. The air was cold enough to bite, the fluorescent lights buzzing like hornets overhead. Every step echoed like a warning. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. The first guard was found near the security control room, lying face up, eyes open, no sign of struggle. No marks. No wounds. He looked like he simply stopped existing. The second guard was nowhere to be seen. And Hale, the man who could turn chaos into strategy, had vanished. Black Ridge was built like a fortress. Triple perimeter fencing. Motion sensors. Underground tunnels only staff could navigate. The warden swore it was impossible. No inmate had ever escaped. The world beyond those walls was ice, mountains, and miles of nothing. Inside the conference room, Lena studied the monitors. The night's footage glitched, random static bursts, frames skipping. Every camera near cell block E died at 2:17 a.m., as if someone cut the feed perfectly on cue. The backup system, stored on a secure server, had been wiped clean. Someone on the inside helped him. The inmate records showed something else. Someone had been transferred to cell block E 2 days earlier. A quiet man known only as Oliver Kane. No history. No family. No fingerprints in any federal database. His file was thinner than a napkin, stamped with expedited clearance from Washington. The kind of thing that didn't happen by accident. Lena arranged an immediate search of the block. Cells were opened one by one. Inmates questioned. But the trail didn't lead outward, it led down. Past a rusted maintenance hatch that should have been locked. The metal screeched when they forced it open, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. The air smelled of damp stone and something older, something hidden for years. A place even the guards didn't know existed. Her flashlight cut through the black, catching markings on the wall, names, dates, scratched counting marks like someone had been tracking years. Maybe decades. At the bottom of the stairs was a steel door with fresh fingerprints on the handle. When Lena pushed it open, her pulse hammered like a war drum. Because inside, chained to a chair, barely conscious, was the second missing guard. And beside him, pinned to the wall with a broken handcuff, was a message written in trembling strokes. He never left. He was released. The guard's breathing was shallow, his skin pale like snow under fluorescent light. When Lena knelt beside him, his lips trembled around a whisper, as if speaking hurt more than the chains cutting into his wrists. He wasn't trying to escape, he rasped, eyes flicking toward the dark hallway behind her. He was being taken out. Like a ghost with a key. Who? Lena asked. Hale. Kane. Someone else. But the guard's eyes rolled back, unconscious. His body hung limp in the restraints, and for the first time since arriving, Lena felt something crawl beneath her skin, not fear, but uncertainty. Hale, the man who should have been trapped behind steel, wasn't running. He was being escorted. Freed. Someone wanted him out. The warden insisted on locking the prison down, but Lena pushed back. Someone inside orchestrated this, she said. Locking the doors won't trap the snake if we already let it out. She requested all personnel files for the last 6 months, transfer logs, clearance signatures, internal movement. Anything tied to Oliver Kane. What she got instead was a sealed envelope placed on her desk by an officer who didn't speak a word. No return address. No fingerprints. Inside was a single photograph. A dining table. Two men seated across from each other, dressed like they were discussing business, not crime. One was Marcus Hale, unmistakable eyes, razor-sharp, calculating. The other was Oliver Kane. Only this time, he didn't look like a prisoner. He looked like a partner. And behind them, blurred but identifiable, stood someone Lena recognized too well, former Deputy Director Samuel Price. The same man who once funded Blackridge's expansion. The same man who vanished from Washington after a corruption probe 5 years ago. Hale wasn't just surviving inside Blackridge. He was negotiating. Whatever they planned, Blackridge was merely the first move. Lena walked the corridors with new urgency, boots striking concrete like a ticking clock. She demanded to see archival route maps, old blueprints from the prison's construction phase. After 2 hours of digging, she found it, a hidden transport tunnel sealed during renovations. A tunnel leading miles beneath the mountain, ending at a decommissioned mining road. Exactly where signals died at 2:17 a.m. A team assembled instantly, tactical officers, K9 units, thermal scanners. Snow fell thicker now, masking every track and sound outside the fortress walls. But Lena knew one thing: Hale was moving, and every minute wasted widened the distance. The mining road forked into 3 directions: east toward barren wilderness, west toward an abandoned rail line, and north toward the border. But Lena noticed something odd. Tire marks near the tunnel exit, almost invisible beneath snow, led not away from the prison, but toward a secluded cabin in the woods. Inside the cabin, everything was too neat, furniture spotless, fireplace cold but recently used. On a table sat 3 metal rings, like tracking collars, the kind used for inmate monitoring. Except these were removed cleanly. Voluntarily. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. Stop digging. Blackridge is only Chapter 1. A photo attached. Grainy. Zoomed in. Taken from behind trees. It was Lena, standing right where she held the phone. Someone was watching her. A floorboard creaked. Not under her, behind her. She spun, weapon raised. A figure stood in the doorway, snow dripping from a hood, gloves soaked dark. Calm. Unhurried. Oliver Kane. He didn't run. Didn't speak. Just looked at her like a man who knew 10 steps more than she did, and always would. You think he escaped, Kane finally said, voice steady as ice. But Marcus Hale walked out with permission. And trust me, he's not the only one getting released. Before Lena could fire, he stepped back into the trees, swallowed by darkness like he was never there. Her breath hitched. Her pulse spiked. Because if Hale was free and Kane untouched, then someone with power unlocked those gates. The real escape wasn't the prison. It was the plan behind it. And the world had no idea what was coming next. Snow hammered the windshield as Lena sped down the forest road, wipers dragging furiously across glass. The message replayed in her mind. Blackridge is only Chapter 1. If true, then Hale's disappearance wasn't an escape, it was a controlled release. Authorized. Planned at levels she wasn't meant to reach. By dawn, she'd mobilized a joint task force and traced Hale's last confirmed movement to a freight terminal outside Denver. Surveillance captured him boarding a private cargo car shortly after midnight, escorted by 2 unidentified men with government credentials. No record of their entry. No record of authorization. Ghosts in suits. Hale's trail went cold. But Lena refused to lose him. She searched the sealed envelope again, the photograph of the dinner meeting. This time, she noticed something she'd missed. A wall clock behind Price, its hands frozen at 11:37. The Baroque wood frame wasn't American. It was European, specifically, a model manufactured only in a small region of southern Spain. Hale wasn't hiding. He was being transported. Across borders. Within 24 hours, Lena was airborne, touching down in Cadiz under the pretense of interagency cooperation. But this wasn't an official mission anymore. Her badge opened fewer doors than the truth she carried. A convoy of influence, corruption, and power had moved Hale, and now she was following alone. The warehouse district smelled like rust and salt water. Workers unloading crates barely glanced at her, But one dockhand froze when she described Hale. American, he muttered. Came last night. Didn't stay long. Where was he taken? The dockhand pointed toward a black stone structure on the horizon, an ancient fortress converted into a detention site during the Cold War. Off the books. No public records. A place whispered about by locals like a myth. A prison within a prison, a final stop for men with secrets too dangerous to bury in soil. Lena approached at sunset. The fortress loomed like the edge of the world, waves crashing against its walls as if trying to erase it from history. Guards in unmarked uniforms patrolled the perimeter, not military, not local police. Something else. Something private. Inside was a silence heavier than steel. She moved through stone corridors until she reached a single door, unmarked, guarded by no one, as if only those who already knew would dare to enter. She inhaled slowly and stepped in. A room lit by a single overhead bulb. A metal table. 2 chairs. Marcus Hale sat waiting, wrists free, posture relaxed, as if he'd been expecting her for years. You tracked me across a continent, he said, almost impressed. Most would have stopped once the paperwork disappeared. Lena didn't reach for her weapon. She didn't break eye contact. Why release you? She asked. Why help you vanish? Hale leaned back, shadows carving his face into something unreadable. They didn't free me, he said quietly. They relocated me. Men like me don't escape, we get repurposed. A rusted door slammed behind her. Lena turned sharply. Samuel Price stood there. Older now, but with the same calm that once held Washington in its grip. You see, Price said, prisons aren't built only to hold criminals. Sometimes they hold assets. And assets eventually get reassigned. Lena felt her pulse in her throat. Hale wasn't just a fugitive. He was being used. A new program. Off books. A network of high-value inmates moved like pieces on a map, deployed, traded, leveraged. Crime turned into currency. Freedom used as negotiation. Price stepped closer. You could join us, he said. Or you could go back to Washington with a story no one will allow you to tell. Hale's eyes met hers. For the first time, she saw something like sympathy. There are prisons you break out of, he murmured. And prisons you walk into without realizing the door shut behind you. Lena stared at the open seat across from Hale. One choice meant silence. Safety. Cooperation. The other meant becoming a threat. The bulb flickered overhead. Waves crashed like thunder outside. She slowly pulled the chair back, not to sit, but to block the door from closing fully. A wedge. A crack of light in a room built to have none. Price frowned. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Lena didn't blink. Good, she said. Because I'm not leaving until every name behind this operation is exposed. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Hale smiled, not triumphant, but resigned. It begins, he whispered. You'll never escape clean. None of us do. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Reinforcements. Shadows multiplying. Lena exhaled once, steady, fearless. Because she finally understood. The prison was never walls or bars. It was power. And she had just walked straight into its center. If you thought Blackridge was the end, you were wrong. This was only the beginning. And if you're ready to see how deep this goes, you know what to do next. Subscribe, if you dare, because the next story is already unfolding.